Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at another premium Bandai Master-Grade kit here, as you can tell by the monochrome box art for this, and really cool box art. I'll come back to that here in a moment, but just really quick, this is the Master-Grade Blast Impulse Gundam. So first, this came out as a premium Bandai HG kit, and I liked the look of it, and I was thinking about getting it as the HG, and I ultimately decided to just skip on it. But then later on, when they came out with this Master-Grade here, I thought, alright, I definitely need to pick that up. It looks like a great Master-Grade kit. I've built the Master-Grade Impulse before in the form of the Impulse Blanche, Impulse Destiny Blanche, and that was a really fantastic build, you know, just based around the Impulse Gundam as its core, and everything I've heard about, every basically version of the Master-Grade Impulse is really good, so I have no doubts that this is going to be a really fantastic build as well. The new parts for this, all the blast parts, look really sharp. It looks like a really great kit, so I'm really excited. So as always, guys, as we get into it, if you want to check out the different P-Bandai stuff available on USA Gundam Store, the link is down below, and you can use my code there, ZakuAurelius10, on anything on the site there, P-Bandai or not, whatever you find there that you might like. You can save 10% off everything there on the website. So check the link and the coupon code there down in the video description. As always, thank you to them for their support. So alright, around the box there's not going to be too much to see with this being a P-Bandai kit. It just has just the name and just some kind of simple pictures on the end. And that's pretty much it, basically just what you see on the front of the box. So the price tag on this one from Bandai was around 5,500 yen, so around 55-60 bucks for this, so it's going to end up being, which is not too bad for just a kind of big Master-Grade box like this with some massive weapons in it. I feel like that's not a bad price at all if you can get it for around that original list price. So the other nice thing about this, as you can see right off the bat, is that it comes with water slides, which is always great to see. One great thing about premium Bandai Master-Grade kits is that usually, although certainly not always, hopefully they come with water slide decals, so it's always nice when they do. Wish the Bandai would just get on with giving water slide decals with every kit, no matter what, but hey, I guess maybe someday in the future, hopefully. Anyway, here for the manual, we just got the box art there, just kind of cropped, so it's kind of a shame they had to crop that, but at least you can see the image from the front of the box here in color, although it's not particularly all that colorful, it's just kind of green and blue, and so it's just kind of got all that there. Here on the back, we can see a lot more of what the kit is going to look like here, and it looks really awesome, man. This thing looks so cool. I really can't wait to get this built up. So there you go. There's the look at where all the decals are going to go on the kit, and you can see there on the weapons and everything. It looks like we have the, I think that's the Core Splendor, right? Is the name of that little guy there? That could be right or wrong, but anyway, we have all these different parts there where you're going to be placing the water slide decals, and then we have our painting guide down here at the bottom as well. If you want to check that out, that's in Japanese and in English. So with this being a P-Bandai kit, there's not going to be too much else to see in the manual. It just kind of gets straight down into business. And so we have our parts list here, and it looks like not going to be a whole lot left over from this. Typically with P-Bandai kits, especially the Master Grades, you end up having a lot of leftover parts, but it looks like we're going to have just a few and not really a whole lot. So that's pretty nice. So you just go through the whole process of building that up. You build the Core Splendor first, and then the chest unit, the head, the arms, and then, let's see, then strangely moving on to the weapons right after that, okay? And I guess this is so you can build a chest flyer first, straight off the bat, so maybe we'll take a look at that in the review like that. We'll take a look at them separately maybe to start off, and then transform them into the main Gundam. You guys, that sound good to you guys? So we got the waist unit and the legs next, and then I guess that's going to create the leg flyer, you can see there. And then once that is done, then you build a silhouette flyer, so you'll have 3 separate flyers, I guess, at the start, if you're building it just according to the manual, building all that up, and then it will show you how to then make the Blast Impulse Gundam by transforming those all together. So there you go, and it looks like we got an action base adapter here for that, and then just how to equip the weapons and everything. So pretty straightforward other than that. So we got the beam javelin there as well, and then the multi-pack. So I guess it is you're able to use this with some different striker packs, of course, this one being the IWSP pack from the Master-Grade Strike IWSP, sold separately of course, but really cool backpack there, so you can use that with this kit apparently, so that's cool. Alright, let's get into the runners. Alright, so we do have a couple of foil stickers here, which look to be for the eyes, and then a couple of cameras, probably for the cameras on the front and back of the head, I would assume. And then here is those water slide decals, and looking very nice here. You got some Zaft logos, you got some other different logos on there, and then you just got some basic markings, kind of generic markings there in black and white mostly, or kind of dark gray and white, a couple there in red, and then the faith marking there in white and yellow, so really cool markings for this. And PC130 for our polycaps here in gray. Alright, and then runner A here is in 4 colors. This is just simply marked for the MG 100 scale Impulse Gundam. You got a couple of clear parts down there at the bottom, a couple of yellow parts up at the top, blue on the side, and then some just kind of looks like slightly off-white parts there for the main armor part color. And then runner B, some more armor parts here in white. We've got 2 of this B runner. Runner C as well, more armor parts here in white, including also our pilot figures there, seated, and 2 different standing pilot figures. Runner D here is in this really dark blue color for some of the armor parts. Runner E is in a much brighter blue, so really nice color blue here for these parts, there for the feet, and a couple parts around the body as well. Runner F is a couple parts here in this really interesting shade of green. It's quite nice. Then runner G is getting into some of the frame parts and mostly kind of weapons parts and things like that on here as well. So this is just all still from the original Impulse Gundam, of course. Runner H, couple parts here in black for the flyer. And then runner I is getting into some more frame parts here. Now this is in gray ABS plastic for anyone wondering. We got 2 of this I runner. Runner J as well, more gray ABS frame parts. And the same thing here for runner K as well, rounding out the frame parts there with some hand parts and little bits on that. Runner L is also in ABS, but this is in black now, and this runner is actually labeled Sword Impulse Gundam, so these are going to be parts from that kit. But then runner M is back to just regular Master-Grade Impulse Gundam here for a few parts in red. But then skipping ahead all the way to runner U here to get into the brand new parts for this specific kit, we've got 4 colors on here, white, red, dark blue, and gray for some new parts here, specifically for the Blast Impulse. And we've got 2 of this U runner. We've got runner V1 for a bunch of the blast parts here, obviously, in this kind of, a little bit kind of army green kind of color, I guess. And we also got runner V2 as well for a copy of this section of the runner over here. And then runner W1 is one more little part here in blue, which looks to be like maybe the part for the chin, I think, is now maybe in blue. And lastly, W2 is our effect part for the beam javelin. Now this is really interesting because it's in clear pink, obviously, but it has a little bit of sparkle in it. If we take a close look, you can see this is not much. So usually when Bandai does like the sparkle injection into their clear parts, it's usually a little bit too much. But this one, it seems like they really kind of toned it down, so it's only a little bit in there, and it looks really, really nice. This is actually like just the right amount of that sparkly effect in the clear part to look really nice. Alright, so like I said, this is looking like it's going to be an awesome kit. I really can't wait to get this one built up. So I'm going to get this all put together and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, so real quick, before we really get into it, here's just the base Gundam, what it looks like when it's all put together. And now it does break into the top and bottom flyers, and we also have the silhouette backpack parts as well. So we're going to take a look at those parts separately, then we'll combine it all together to make the full-on Blast Impulse Gundam. But I just wanted to give you guys a look just around the base Gundam here at first, just to see how it looks. It looks very nice, very nicely detailed, proportions and everything. I love the look of this Master-Grade, so I really like the way that this kit came out. The color is also really interesting as well, as it's a really unique color scheme for this, with the blue, dark blue, and little bits of green accent on there. They're not really the typical kind of colors you would normally see on a just kind of lead mobile suit, lead Gundam kind of style mobile suit here. So it looks very cool like this, but like I said, let's break it down into its separate parts and just get a quick look at how it looks in the separate flyers, in case that's something that you might want to do with yours, maybe displaying it separated like that. So I can't imagine that a lot of people would, but just in case anyone's interested to see how that looks, let's see. Alright, so just like Drizzy, we're going to start from the bottom here, and this is the leg flyer with the landing gear. So you got the legs just basically folded up and some landing gear attached up underneath the knees, and one part there for the crotch, which you kind of have to like parts form there. You have to take off the part like the top of the crotch, and then you put in the landing gear part and put that back on there. And that's pretty much it. It's kind of silly, it's kind of boring, but still, it's the kind of thing, you know, it did it in the anime, so it's cool that they recreated that here for the Master-Grade. So here's just a closer up look at what that landing gear looks like. So you can see it just plugged up in there underneath the knee. When the knee part is extended up, it just exposed that hard point there, and then here for the crotch as well. So if you did want to display this on action base, there's a little cap underneath their hips section there. You just remove that. You got your action base connector here for that. Now you just remove those bits, and like I said, for the crotch, you just remove this bit here. Put that little piece of armor back there on the crotch for that. Okay, and yeah, then here is the chest flyer, and I kind of wish that I was joking. It's so stupid looking, but I mean, if you thought the legs was dumb because it's just a folded up set of legs, this thing just like that is doing some like weird dab thing like on his face, and I don't know what's going on with this thing. But well, the one thing that I do like about this is that the landing gear on the shield is cool. The way that you have to once again do like some parts for me. You had to remove the white parts on the front of the shield and also add in the little parts there for like the landing gear to make the front of the shield look like it's like extended out to act as like landing gear here for the chest flyer. That part is pretty cool. I do like that little gimmick there about this, but otherwise this is pretty ridiculous. So yeah, of course you got a little action base connector here for this as well. That'll just plug right onto there, and you can plug that onto an action base. And yeah, you just remove these parts here for the front of the shield. So that should just be closed up like that. And yeah, it also doesn't really hold the rifle all that well. There's a little tab in there. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I guess, later on. But yeah, it doesn't really hold it all that well. And then naturally, of course, in the center, you've got the core splendor here as well. So when it's in its jet form, flying form, here's how it's going to look. Once again, you got the landing gear underneath there. You also got those big gigantic missiles there up underneath the wings. Those will have to be removed for when you transform this to put it into the Gundam. But it's just because this actually looks like some sort of jet. This is the only thing, at least for me, that I would consider maybe just displaying as like a separate thing. But unfortunately, to make the Gundam, you have to display this. You have to put it into the Gundam. So it's not like, for example, with like the Master-Grade XS or something where you get an extra one that you could display separately. That would have been cool. But with this one, you have to choose either put it in the Gundam or not. That said, I suppose the one way that you could not display this in the Gundam is if you use this piece. This included piece here you have as well, which plugs into the back. This is for plugging onto the back there, and then you can plug other different Master-Grade seed backpacks into the back of this, like the Ale Strike pack or something like that, onto this if you do want to use that instead of the included backpack that comes with this. Of course, you have that option. Then in that case, you could display this out separately because it doesn't go in the back there. But as once again a close-up look at that, the cockpit or canopy hatch there, I suppose, does open. You can remove these bits of landing gear from the bottom, and once again, of course, we do also have a separate action base adapter for that, so you can attach that up onto an action base when it's flying if you wanted to as well. But yeah, we're just gonna remove these off here. These little wings on the top there, fold those down. These main wings, fold those back and push those in. There we go. And in the front, we would just fold this all up like that, and then this is going to be what's going to be going into the actual Gundam there then. And then we also have the silhouette flyer, which is going to plug into our blast silhouette here, which we'll take a look at. So this one, once again, also has landing gear under there, which you can replace that if you choose. This one as well also has an action base adapter you can plug up into that one as well. So connect this into the blast silhouette here. You need to extend that part out the back, and that's going to hook up into the silhouette, the blast silhouette here, like that. And I'm finding now that once you got that on there, it's a little bit back heavy. It's not really able to stand on the landing gear all very well. So if you're going to want to display this together like this, separate from the Gundam, then probably just going to want to remove this landing gear and display it flying. In which case you'll use that same action base adapter that I just mentioned. That just plugs up into there, and you can have this flying separately. So if you were to display this all separated, you have the leg flyer, the top flyer, the core splendor, and then the backpack here, you would need 4 action bases, like arms, all together. So it would take quite a little bit to actually have it displayed like that. But as you can see here, just taking a look at obviously the new parts here for the backpack, they do look very nicely detailed, very sharp. Everything looks really cool on here. So we'll take a closer look at this here in a moment. Just want to run through the rest of the other accessories we have included with this. Of course, we got our 2 little 1/100 scale pilot figures here in white. Those are looking good. And we have the knives, which will fold up and go inside the side skirts if you want. I'm just going to keep them out separate, but you can include those in the side skirts. And the rifle, which we did see briefly, but just the camera on the top there moves, the secondary handle moves. And on the opposite side, it's got a little plug there for plugging onto the back skirt. When not in use, it can be stored on there, so that's pretty nice. And the shield we also saw briefly, but it's actually quite thick because of the different layers that it has here. But on the back, it has the connector piece, so it will rotate around, plugs onto the back of the arm. The handle here, which rotates out. It doesn't slide, the handle doesn't slide up and down, even though you can see there's like a track for it. The handle doesn't actually slide up and down on that, but the shield does slide open, as you can see there. So that is how that opens up. So in order to give you all the details of that, the shield, a couple layers that kind of had to build up for that, becomes quite thick, but not really all that heavy. It shouldn't have any problems actually holding this up. It's not actually quite that large. It does extend out to be a little bit longer, but anyway, it doesn't have any problems with that. And then we have one more action base adapter here, and this is for displaying the Gundam when it's actually in its full form. So the cool thing about this is that once you remove that cap from up inside of there, in the hips where this is going to plug into, you can plug that here into the action base adapter for storage so you don't lose it. So that just plugs into there, and then this will plug up into the Gundam, and this down here onto your action base. And then we have the very long beam javelin here, which is very cool. I really like the beam effect part for this. Like I said, it's got a little bit of sparkle in it, but not that much. It does look really nice. And just to give you guys an idea of the length of this here, Just the handle itself comes out to about 18 centimeters there, with the effect part comes to a little over 27 centimeters. And among our leftover parts, of which there's really not all that many, but you do have the parts to make a second handle. Now you don't have 2 effect parts unfortunately, but if you wanted to just take like a spare leftover 100 scale beam saber effect part, this was not included with this kit, but if you just have any extras lying around, it sort of fits into there. It's a little bit loose, but you might want to maybe just put a little bit of glue or something, a little putty or tape or something just around that, just so that it's a little bit tighter in there. But you could make a second beam javelin with just a regular beam effect part on there. And also, just among the other leftover parts, you have these fixed pose holding hands. So instead of the regular articulated hands on the kit, you have these ones, which I guess were just the fixed pose hands for probably the sword version of this kit, I would imagine. Maybe for better holding onto those massive swords, but just in case you might need these, again, just hang on to them. And just for any of you who may have been wondering, you can of course also open up the cockpit. You move that part up there up a little bit, and then this part you need to open out. There you go, and it might be easier for me to use my tweezers because I can't get my finger in there. And then this lower door, you also need to open that down as well, and inside there you can see nothing actually. You can't see all the way through to the pilot who is in the canopy, in the cockpit there, in the silhouette flyer, or the course blender there in the back, but you can't actually see all the way through there to that. You just see a little kind of door there, unfortunately. And so because we had to spend a good amount of time there going through all the different flyer forms, I won't get into into all the detail for the articulation. I'll just mention a couple things here, and you guys will be able to see through the different poses that it's very nicely articulated. You don't really have any problem areas in the articulation at all. Just on the hands, they're the kind of standard for the time Master-Grade hands, where you have the 3 and 1 separated fingers. The first finger is separated from the second, third, and fourth fingers, which are joined together. But you can separate those apart. They're all in each individual ball joints if you want to cut those apart to have each individual finger articulated at the base knuckle anyway. They don't have any other articulation within the fingers, though. It's just a curled, kind of half-curled finger, so they're okay for the hands. Also in the stomach section, you don't have any forward and back stomach ab crunch there, just because of the transformation of this, the way the course blender fits into the chest there. You can't have any ab crunch with that, unfortunately, though you do still have rotation there at the waist section, of course. Also, because of the transformation, again, the knees, how they're meant to bend backwards, they can be a little bit funky when you're posing the kid. You have to kind of bend them in a way so that you're making sure that it doesn't, like, it's not bending backwards and looking kind of strange. Also, the thruster on the back of the leg also will move up and down a little bit, and that's pretty much it as far as anything really noteworthy. As you can see, you do have nice separation of the knee, also a nice separation of the elbow there as well. So, and also because of the transformation, the shoulders are also really super nicely articulated. Up, down, forward, side to side on the shoulder joints is also quite nice as well for some really dynamic posing with this kit. So just the thin, slender design of the kit, obviously, as you might imagine, makes it a very nice kit to pose up in some really cool dynamic action poses. The lack of the ab crunch there could, I mean, it's a small thing that could help the poses look a little bit better, but it's not really something that I think really takes away too much from the overall look of this kit. So once you got the backpack on there, it's a nice, good, solid connection. Doesn't feel like that's going to come off, even though it is pretty heavy. But again, just love the details on that. It looks fantastic here on the back. This little bit there in the center will move up and down a little bit. These parts on here will also move up and down a little bit as well, because you're meant to fold that down and then fold this little cannon bit forward like that for some extra little bits of firepower. Fold those forward, and then these can also be rotated side to side a little bit, so you can kind of tilt them out to the side a little bit for some cool cannons up there above the head. You could bring them down farther, but you kind of have to be careful of going around the V-fin there to have them firing like straight forward like that. You can do that. Then up here for kind of the main event, you got some missiles up in the top, so those are meant to just be fired out like that, I suppose. But then of course you can bring this down up underneath the arm. On the side here, the handle will fold out like that for grabbing onto that. And you're also meant to fold down this little flap here at the back there as well, like that. And then I guess it does show you here in the manual one more thing for you to be able to open up this part here as well. And it shows it opened up when it's there on the back, but I don't really know exactly what that's for, but you can fold that up there on the back. Maybe that's supposed to be where the beam javelin is stored, like in the anime. I don't remember. I've seen this like ages ago, but maybe that's where what that's supposed to be in there. So it's supposed to mean like that. It's supposed to look like that opens up, and then you pull out the beam javelin out of there, I suppose. Maybe that's what that gimmick is for. But anyway, it does that. But so obviously once you have the big backpack on there, you're going to be getting the full effect of this kit, and it definitely looks awesome. Now, like I mentioned before, I like the colors of this kit, but I definitely like it a lot more with the backpack on. You have the addition of all that green on there on the backpack. Does look really nice, and the red accents on there also give you some really nice colors. And also, of course, really reminds me a lot of the launcher pack for the Strike Gundam as well, with it being a kind of similar theme of that as well. But anyway, again, like I keep mentioning, I love the details and just how cool the backpack and the cannons look there on that. And it could definitely do with a little bit of painting, definitely all those details on there, all the little vents and everything, the little missiles and all that kind of stuff. If you went in and actually painted all those details, of course it's going to look even better, but even still, just as it is straight out the box, all the details on there do look really nice. The arms for holding the big cannons there onto the backpack, just held on there via that little connector arm there with 2 ball joints on the ends of that. So that makes it so those can move around up underneath the arm without any trouble, and they're actually quite solid there as well, so you don't really have any weight issues with those. Everything holds up really well. The posability of this kit is really nice, and it looks really great. Again, like I said, the dynamic posing with this kit is really fun, easy to do, and it looks really good, so that makes it a really good one for posing. So that's going to be just about it for my review here of the P-Bandai Master-Grade Blast Impulse. I suppose at some point, maybe someday in the future, I should try the Sword Impulse as well. I've always heard it's a great kit, and it does look pretty cool, but I've never actually gotten around to ever buying one. So maybe it's something I'll have to look into sometime in the future. If you guys are interested in seeing a review of that kit, maybe let me know. But for now, if you guys have any other further questions or comments about this particular kit, feel free to leave a comment there down below. And again, thank you to US Gundam Store for their support. Check out the different available Master Grades and P-Bandai stuff available there on their site, and everything else you can use my coupon code there again, ZakuAurelius 10, to save 10% off everything on the site. Alright guys, so have a great day. I'll see you next time. We'll be taking a look at another Master Grade P-Bandai kit from Gundam Seed, the /Zaku Phantom, so that one should be pretty cool as well. Alright guys, see you then. Bye bye.